Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Bhavi and I will be making lifestyle videos uploading once every week. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe down below and give it a like. And if you're planning a wedding, hopefully this video will be a little bit helpful for you because I'm going to be giving you 10 ways that you can cut your wedding costs. I got married last year and we were able to have the wedding of our dreams whilst also keeping our costs manageable. If you'd like to know more about our wedding and the planning process, I've made a video all about it, which I will link below. But for now, I'm going to get straight into the 10 tips. So tip number 1 is to research. So firstly, you need to sit down and research. You need to think about the type of wedding that you want. Whether you want a big manor house wedding in the country or a quirky day in the pub, think about your vision for the day. Then go and research what's available and how much it costs. When we first got engaged and started wedding planning, everybody told us that the most important thing to do was to set a budget. So that's what we did. The only thing is that when we started getting quotes, that's when we realized that the budget that we had was not going to pay for the type of wedding that we wanted. And the reason for that is because we'd gone and set a budget when we had no idea how much things like venues, caterers and photographers actually cost. Go out and get as many quotes as you can, from high end to low end. Then you'll get an idea of the market rate and how much you need to budget for it. I would suggest getting a minimum of 3 quotes for each and every item on your list. Then you can work out how much you can afford and are prepared to spend for each of those items. By doing this, you'll be able to work out and manage your overall budget and make sure that you aren't overspending. Doing this exercise will also be able to help you prioritize and realize what you can cut out if it's just not that important to you. This leads on to tip number 2. Don't get sucked in, it's just one day. It's so easy to get suckered into the world of wedding planning, and I definitely had to check myself a few times on the way. If you don't care about a big fancy wedding cake, then why are you considering spending hundreds of pounds on one? And if you never buy designer items, then why are you trying on those heels that you're only going to wear once? Or if you think wedding invites are a waste of money and are bad for the environment, then just send an email. As long as you're marrying the person that you love, everything else is just an additional thrill, and if it wasn't important to you when you got engaged, then just cut it out. Tip number 3 is to negotiate hard. I think it's a cultural thing that the British people are scared to haggle, but when you're planning a wedding, this is something that you need to get super comfortable with. At first, I was way too nervous to ask for a discount, and then I just stuck to the phrase, "Is that the best price you can offer?" It seemed to work quite well for me, and more times than not, the supplier would bring down the price. If you're confident to go ahead and negotiate harder, then do it, because it's amazing just how many hundreds of pounds you can save from asking. Tip number 4 is to always offer to pay in cash. This is something that I did with nearly all of my vendors. They're usually really happy to take payments in cash because it means that they can save banking and administration charges and maybe even a bit of sneaky tax. Yes, it's a bit of a faff having to go and take a load of cash out, but it's always worth asking whether they can give you a discount if you pay that way. And when you're spending so much money in one go, every pound counts. 5 is to get creative with your catering. Feeding your guests is one thing that's going to take up a huge part of your budget, but there's things you can do to bring down your cost per head. If you have a buffet or cuisines where there's dishes which can be shared by the table, then that generally is cheaper. It always works out cheaper to do that than to have individually plated catering. I've also heard of weddings where they've gone really DIY with it and they've asked their guests or close friends to make a dish each. Then they made hampers for each table which contained each one of these dishes. So for example, one friend would make a pie or the other friend would make a dessert. They'd go into each of the hampers and then each table would share that hamper, a bit like a picnic. I've seen weddings where they've done a bake-off style competition for the dessert. So instead of having a wedding cake, friends and family would each bake something different and then the guests would vote for the best one at the end. You could even hire in a really cool street food van. We hired in a pizza van for our reception and our guests loved it because it was super casual and it was also really fun for them to be able to watch their pizza being made. Most importantly, the cost per head was only a few pounds. Tip number 6 is to use the high street sales and discount codes. I really wanted to take advantage of the January sales because I personally feel that they are the best sales of the year, and that is when I bought my wedding dress and also my bridesmaids dresses. I bought them nearly a year in advance, but I was willing to do that to get that saving. I got £1,000 off my dress by buying it in a sample sale, and I paid around £35 for each bridesmaid's dress by buying them in the sale and using a 25% discount code that I found online. There are also loads of shops like ASOS, French Connection, Whistles and Next, which are doing high street wedding dresses, and each year more shops are doing them and they're getting better and better. It's going to be way more affordable than going to a specific bridal boutique, And also you can find great things like shoes and accessories on the high street too. Don't forget to also check out your local charity shops. I found a really old mirror in my local charity shop for $1.99 and I took it home and spray painted the edges, and that's what we used to write down our order of the day. Tip number 7 is to save and spend smartly. So this isn't going to cut your wedding costs per se, but it may help you gain a few extra pounds or rewards to help towards the day. If you've been working and saving hard to pay for your wedding, you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of that money. So if you have your savings sitting in the bank, make sure you're getting as much interest on that money as possible. Now is a good time to look at what other banks might be offering and whether you might be able to make some money by switching your accounts. I know at the moment NatWest are offering £175 if you switch to their current account. A good website to check out is the Money Saving Expert website, because they always have a current list of what banks are offering what rewards at the moment. So I would definitely check that out if you're planning a wedding at the moment. You can also spend a bit more smartly by signing up to a credit card, which is going to give you rewards like cashback or flight vouchers when you're making those big purchases like your wedding dress or paying for suit hire. Just make sure that if you're going to get one of these credit cards, you're paying them off in time so that you're not going to get any late fees. Tip number 8 may seem like common sense, but it is to cut down on your guest list and your bridal party. This is a really hard one and one that we really struggled with. It's really hard cutting down your numbers, especially when you have parents or family telling you that you need to invite certain people. In the end, we decided not to invite any children to our wedding and we only had really close friends and family. By doing this, we were able to save some catering costs. We actually decided to have a huge bridal party and it didn't come cheap. It's really lovely to have bridesmaids and groomsmen, but with it comes the costs of dresses, suit hire, gifts, possibly hair and makeup. If you simply can't afford it, then just scrap the tradition. There's other ways to incorporate your close friends into your day. You could ask them to do readings during your ceremony, or you could ask them to maybe give a speech during your dinner, and they can still be with you in the morning and join in for your group photos. It just means that you don't have those extra costs. Tip number 9, don't be scared to buy secondhand. Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Gumtree, Pre-Loved, these are all great sites to buy secondhand items. You can use these sites to buy things like bridesmaids' dresses, your own wedding dress, flower girl dresses. We even bought random little things like Polaroid camera films and things for DIY. And when the wedding is done, don't forget that you can actually go on there and sell all your leftover bits and make a bit of that money back. Tip number 10 is a really important one, and that is to look closely at your logistics. As with any event, the logistics need to be thoroughly thought through to make sure that everything runs smoothly and that your guests are having a good day. But having your logistics locked down can also help you save some money. Lots of vendors, for example your florist, might have additional costs to deliver, set up and pick up the things that they are providing for you. These can sometimes be hundreds, so if you can rope in your friends and family to help you with this, then that's going to save you a lot of money. And also you want to remember that loads of your vendors are going to be calculating their price by the amount of hours that they're at your wedding. So you don't want to leave them hanging around not doing anything. For example, if you don't care about getting ready photos and your ceremony, dinner and speeches are only 3 hours, then book your photographer for just 3 hours. Also, if you're having evening entertainment or hiring in a photo booth for your reception, there's no need to hire it for the whole day if the reception starts at 5 o'clock. I would really strongly advise to keep your timeline tight and efficient and to know it like the back of your hand. Then you'll feel at ease on the day because you'll know what time everything is happening, and it will cut out any extra charges paying for people while they're just hanging around. So those are my 10 tips, but I have so much more to say. I'm just going to quickly add in, make sure you're roping in your friends and your family. If you have musical friends, then ask them to perform. If your sister's great at makeup, then ask her to do yours. We had a friend of ours sing at the wedding, and I had an army of family helping me with DIY projects. We DIY'd our invites, our wedding favours, loads of decor. And lastly, planning a wedding is the best time to get creative. If there's something you love but can't afford it, think outside of the box and see how you can do it in a different way. I really like the idea of a photo booth, but the quotes I was getting was like £300 to £400. So we decided to hire in an arch and just have a Polaroid camera, and that saved us loads of money. I also really like the idea of having a festival glitter bar, but again, it was way too expensive and outside of our budget. So I went onto Amazon and got a load of festival gem stickers. I left them in the ladies' toilets and the guests loved them. Even my dad was wearing one and they looked amazing in photos. We also had our heart set on having a wedding band, but when we got the quotes in, it just wasn't something we could afford. In the end, we asked our friend to sing during our ceremony, and we had a saxophone player for 45 minutes in the evening reception. It was so much fun, and it gave the element of live music. We just didn't have to pay a huge amount of money for it. So there you go, those are my 10 tips to cut your wedding costs. If you're planning a wedding, I hope you found it helpful, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!